What's up, everyone? Welcome into Duval Daily. I'm Jack McFaul. Hope everyone's having a good day. How could you not after the Jags stunned the Chiefs at home on Monday Night Football? And don't look now, but your Jacksonville Jaguars are 4-1. Really should be 5-0, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, such an incredible game. The bank was packed. You could feel the passion. The crowd roars. The players getting hyped, even to the point where apparently Coach Cohen said he had to tell some of them to relax a little pregame, which is pretty funny. But yeah, I mean, just such a sick environment. It's such an awesome win for the Jaguars. To play the NFL's dynasty team on Monday night with the whole football world watching and pull off what they did. Just incredible. So let's get into some of the numbers and the good and maybe not so good coming out of this thriller against KC. Um, so I started out last week by talking about penalties and how much of an issue they were becoming. The Jags had 12 accepted penalties a week ago, and last night against the Chiefs, four. They had four. So much improved, so much more discipline, which was something that was so important in this win. Two of the penalties were some pre-snap miscues that I'll get into a little bit more later. But yeah, I mean, having 12 penalties in a game and winning is not sustainable at all. Obviously referring to that Niners game. And it's especially not sustainable when you play against teams that are, the caliber of the Chiefs or those good teams. So, yeah, to improve that so drastically over 8 days is something that can't be overlooked. And yeah, so shout out to the coaching. I think it was a massive reason why the Jags were able to pull off this win. Um, Looking into some of the offensive numbers and some of the stuff that I think could have been better on that side of the ball. Starts off with the protection. 3 sacks for the Chiefs on Trevor Lawrence, which is the most the Jags have given up in a single game this year. Actually doubled their season total, which was three going into the game. So yeah, it was the offensive line's worst game of the year for sure, which is I guess kind of understandable and probably could have been predicted going into the game, considering that matchup with guys like Chris Jones, George Karlaftis, just overall that Steve Spagnuolo defense and its unique looks and ways to generate that pressure. I would still say the line didn't play that bad. At least one of those sacks were on Trevor, where he kind of ran into the pressure and took it. So I don't want to act like they played horrible because they didn't, but it's still an area that I think needs to be highlighted coming out of this game that wasn't that great. They could have been better. Um, and then another thing that still needs improvement is those pre-snap penalties. No illegal shifts yesterday, which I feel like is a win in itself. But the two delay games were a problem. One of them coming on that game-winning drive. It can't happen. And it's hard to pinpoint why it keeps happening. I think, Liam Cohen's offense is very pre-snap heavy with motions and shifts and calls, which definitely contributes to that. But I don't think Trevor's helping the case, which is interesting. I think it's something that's kind of gone under the radar among fans is how he's not been wearing a wristband this year to call the plays in the huddle. And I think it kind of reflects at times, when the offense gets the line and there's, 10 seconds left on the play clock. So I don't know. I don't know if that's something they should look into, but those pre-snap issues continue to show up in big ways every game. And, that's something that you hope gets better as the season goes on. I think it will, but right now it is still there and still needs to be fixed. So now for some positives coming out of the game for the offense. How about Trevor's legs? 10 carries for 54 yards and 2 touchdowns from him. Led the team on the ground, and I really think his ability to use that athleticism and size to pick up those chunks of yards should be used more as the season goes on. I've been saying it since the start of the season that I would love to see some, design QB runs, And we saw a few last night, although a lot of those came on design pass plays, and he actually broke his record for scrambles in a game. But if you go back to college, and honestly, even his best games as a pro, he excels on the run, using his legs, whether that be on maybe like a bootleg play action or a design run. I mean, if you go back and watch his best games at Clemson, every single one of those, he was using that athleticism. And, I really hope to see more of it as season goes on because it's a weapon. It really is. Um, Another, quick positive I want to note coming out of the offense is the big plays that Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas were a part of. Both massive catches that really, I think, changed the outcome of the game. Obviously, the Brian Thomas one, but as well as the Travis Hunter one. Hunter went for 44 on the one catch. Thomas went for 33. And, I think if the offense wants to reach that max potential that we haven't really seen yet, we're going to need to see more of that. We're going to need to see more of those, shots downfield, use the speed, use the ball skills, especially with Travis Hunter. I mean, he's got ball skills that I don't think anyone else on the team has. So seeing more of that, yeah, is going to be huge, and hopefully we do see more of that as time goes on. Um, Running some defensive numbers, I think this was for sure the defense's worst game of the year. You could say the Bengals, but I think this definitely was worse. There definitely were some points in the game, really all game, to be honest with you, where it felt like the Chiefs kind of just do whatever they wanted and it would work. They had 476 total yards of offense and averaged 7.6 yards a play. So yeah, I mean that's not great. And no sacks for the Jags, which was bad, and not much pressure at all, really. Which I think no Trayvon Walker impacted that. I think Mahomes was very good at getting the ball out fast. He's always been good at that, but just like the quick decision, go make the throw. Um, so that definitely was part of it too. But yeah, overall pretty poor game. And even the run defense, which has been a massive strength, was pretty bad. 7.2 a carry overall for the Chiefs among all their rushers. Uh, so that needs to be better. And I understand it's Andy Reid, it's Patrick Mahomes. It's I mean that's as good as it gets. Not even in the league now, but you could say all time. That's as good as it gets. So you kind of understand it, but I think it's a game to learn for Coach Camp and that whole unit. But hey, came out with the win, so everything's better when you win. So the only real positive I can think of in terms of the defense for this game, I'm sure you can imagine it's Devin Lloyd, 99 yards on that pick six to completely flip the script of that game. Longest pick six for a linebacker since the 1940s. He stepped in, faked the rush, made contact with the offensive lineman, stepped back, read Mahomes' eyes, and made that sick play to bail out the defense and run it 99 yards. Just incredible, really. I mean, and even just watching that play, seeing Josh Hines Allen, Austin Johnson, like these guys just run down the field and block for him too. It was awesome. It was such an awesome play. I can't even describe how awesome that play was. So Devin Lloyd now is first in interceptions in the NFL, has the highest pressure rate for linebackers in the NFL. Um, he's just played out of his mind on a contract year. So I mean, to me, and I think to everyone, he's an early Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Um, yeah, I mean, just unbelievable stuff from him so far throughout these 5 games. And that play, 100% is one of the best plays in Jaguars history, in my opinion. If you look at it in terms of the opponent, the point of the game, prime time, just awesome, awesome stuff. And then finally, looking at special teams, there's not a whole lot to talk about in terms of good or bad, I don't think. I mean, Cam Little made his only field goal, from 52, which obviously is good. He's missed a few kicks, so that was nice to see. And he was 4 for 4 in extra points. So I mean, that's great. LaQuinn Allen had a few decent returns, but nothing too crazy. I think I've noticed that teams are not kicking it to Bashal Tutin on the kickoffs, and I think that's probably intentional with that speed he has. And he had the big return last week. It was he had the big return, so probably going to see a lot of LaQuinn Allen on the returns, which is fine. But yeah, that's just something I noticed. And then in terms of like kickoff coverage and punt coverage, it was fine. I mean, they had the one 6 yard return that was called back due to holding, so no harm, no foul. It is what it is. Um, yeah, 13 accepted penalties for the Chiefs, by the way, which is wild. That is wild. Yeah, so I mean, overall, a solid game for special teams. No complaints. They played a good game. It is what it is. So yeah, I mean, what a win! What a win! Such a fun game to watch. Probably such a fun game to be at. I wish I could have been there. Just that energy, man. Awesome, awesome stuff. And it's not going to get easier in these coming weeks for this team. Got the Seahawks at home. Great team, great offense, great weapons. Sam Darnold's been playing great. And you got the Rams in London, who are one of the better teams in the NFC. Definitely, in my eyes, a Super Bowl contender. They're awesome. So they're really gonna have to. The Jags are really gonna have to keep their foot on the gas if they want to, keep this out, keep this winning up, keep pushing forward. So yeah, awesome week. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Enjoy the victory week. It's definitely a sweet one. Um, and yeah, go Jags.